and welcome to Timeless with Julie Hartman Live. It is Monday, August 12th, 2024. I'm Julie Hartman, and it is great, as always, to be with you because now we are back. We are officially back. Those of you who follow me on my social media know that I have been gone for quite some time, a few weeks, traveling all throughout Europe for speaking opportunities, a Catholic immersion experience. I've talked about some of this on Timeless when I did the episode in Italy, and I also talked about it on Dennis and Julie. And then last week, I gave this announcement that although I was back in Los Angeles, there were all of these things going on in the studio, which made it such that I couldn't do the show. You now know that the big announcement, or I guess the big change in the studio, is that Larry Elder, the Sage, is back at Salem, and he's right here filming in our LA studio. So we weren't able to do Timeless last week, but here I am. We're officially back. I'm so excited. I have missed you so much. I can already see that people are in the chat. I'm very grateful. And by the way, speaking of missing someone and being grateful for someone, hi, Sean, in the producer's dungeon.
Look who decided to show up for work.
Wait a minute. I knew this was coming. You love to say stuff like that, don't you? When has Julie Hartman ever not showed up to work with the exception of these weeks?
The world is just as crazy as you left it. Okay?
Yes.
Oh,
it certainly is. Well, I missed you. I really did. I missed you. I missed everyone. I missed the show. I don't want to get into it, but I really wanted to do the show when I was abroad, but logistically and with some other things going on here, that just wasn't possible. But I really did want to do it, but I'm just happy now that we're back. And I'm able to tell you about some of my takeaways. And thank you so much for those who are writing in. Welcome back. You know, I'm sort of struggling with this show because there's so much that I want to tell you. And there are so many different, avenues that I could go down. And for the rest of Timeless and the rest of Dennis and Julie for perpetuity and for the rest of my life, all that I learned from this experience, I believe, is so integrated into me that it'll come up probably almost every episode. But I just want to spend today, because it's the first show back and there is just so much to talk about, I kind of want to focus it on one or two big takeaways. But also, trust me, I am very well aware that we need to do a show dedicated to what the heck happened over the past 5 weeks in our country. When I landed in Italy at the start of the trip, I went to sleep and I woke up and I was getting text messages about the presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And we think, because of all that has happened in the meantime, that was, ancient history. That was years ago. No, take it from me, because this trip actually, this trip directly coincided with all that was going on in our country. I can trace the dates of what went on in this country to the dates of my trip. That was only 5 weeks ago. That disastrous debate with Joe Biden and Donald Trump, where Joe Biden was, making no sense. And even the Democrats are admitting that he was out of it. That was just 5 weeks ago. And then, remember, he was still in the race. And on July 13th, they tried to assassinate Donald Trump. That was 3 weeks ago. We're just acting like that was, whatever, ancient history. And then a few days later, Joe Biden drops out. Oh, by the way, remember the George Stephanopoulos interview? Yeah, I was there for all of it. Even though I was abroad, I was so much paying attention and really using it as an opportunity to talk with all of these people from all around the world to get their perspectives on what was going on. And let me tell you, to distill it into the sentence, a lot of the world thinks America's crazy. They think we're all crazy. Democrat, Republican, Trump supporters, non-Trump supporters, they think we're nuts. And they're probably right. We're definitely kooky. I see, Sean, you don't have to cut in, but I wanted to make sure the mic's working because I saw you speaking.
I'm confirming. We are kooky.
We are kooky,
Reporting
and that's the reputation.
Kooky.
The reputation abroad is that we're kooky and that we're ignorant.
Although not as kooky as that Australian ray gun break dancer.
Oh my God, that's right. In the Olympics. Yeah, by the way, the Olympics. Remember the Olympics opening ceremony? Yeah, that was weird. That was quite a thing to experience abroad. But this is all just to say that we are truly living in a time of tumult. I believe that we are living in a time that may not be directly this, but is certainly akin to Yuri Bezmenov's crisis stage. We've done shows on Yuri Bezmenov. He was the KGB defector who exposed the secrets of the Soviet Union's ideological subversion campaign in the United States. Because, warfare isn't just on the ground. Warfare is psychological too. And he talks about what our adversaries, our communist adversaries, were doing or trying to do in order to deaden and weaken Americans through psychological warfare. And please do look at this show because I outlined the various stages. And right now, so much seems like the crisis stage. Because in just 5 weeks, we've had a disastrous debate, a president getting shot, all of this very shady information coming out about the Secret Service and about the spectacular incompetence that day, the president dropping out, and then the VP ascending to the ranks without a single vote. So yeah, we have to process all that.
Do you
Back
remember
to the trip.
you did a predictions episode for 2024? Do you remember doing that?
I did. I do so much content that I don't even remember what I said.
You did. You said something big was going to happen. You didn't know what, but something big was going to happen in politics. And I think you've been proven correct. Even though you were vague on your prediction.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for that. He's cracking up. Yeah, no. Well, I will take credit for this. I have been doing shows, and we should pull them up. Actually, next episode we should show receipts. For the past year, I've been doing shows on how Joe Biden is going to drop out. That I know with certainty. I remember I did one when David Axelrod, Obama's advisor, tweeted, still a little jet lagged, about a year ago saying something like, we should consider if Joe Biden should be the nominee. I talked about the New York Times reporting of Joe Biden. This has been in the works for quite some time. But my point in bringing it up is to say that that's not the point of the episode. We will talk about all the craziness, but I think it's important for us to also just have a life outside of the craziness and talk about life and personal development and growth. And that's really what I endeavor to do with this show. I call it timeless because I want every episode, everything we talk about, whether it's politics or history or news or handwriting analysis or interviews or addiction or travels or any random thing that we discuss on the show, I want it to be something that is universal and something that's useful to us in all areas of our lives. And it's really just about elevating ourselves as people. This is what I believe this show is. So with that,
I think your return to the airways shook the earth.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so true. We did just have an earthquake here in Los Angeles. Okay, well, let's just dive in here. By the way, 844-861-5537 is the call-in number. 844-861-5537 is the call-in number. I have a direct line to the chat. You're keeping it classy, so you're doing the right thing, and thank you for being here. So let's put up a picture of where the heck your host has been over 5 weeks. I was in 7 countries. Italy, Malta, that's right, Malta is a country. That's that dot that you see right below Italy and right above Northern Africa. England, Ireland, Romania, Hungary, Denmark, and Slovakia. Now, the whole story of this trip, I hope you know that, when I'm telling this to you, I don't mean it in that like, oh, it's a fun Julie story. I really mean to tell it because I think that this is so useful, and I learned so much from this experience. I'm still learning sort of in retrospect, looking back on my trip. Even just going on this trip, I think is almost worth an entire episode. Just taking risks in life and going for it. So when I planned this trip, or when the opportunities for this trip came up, I thought that it would be Italy, Romania, and Hungary. And to explain that, basically, I got these speaking opportunities in Romania and Hungary at these anti-communist festivals in Transylvania and in Amsterdam, Transylvania, Romania, and in Amsterdam, Hungary. And then right before that, there was this Catholic immersion experience in Rome for a few days that I also very luckily got the opportunity to go on. And I thought, well, I would marry those opportunities. Once you're out there in Europe, you're spending so much money on your plane ticket, you might as well marry those opportunities and really learn and try to make the most of it. Now, it was, as Sean knows, kind of difficult, with filming and all of that, but we made it work. Again, I wanted to film abroad, but unfortunately, it just didn't, for some reason, work out. But I was able to film enough episodes and take some vacation time in order to take advantage of these speaking opportunities. And so again, what I want you to know here, and this is so interesting to me about life, is that I think when you open yourself up to new experiences, you have no idea what else can come from it. I just read you, and let's pull up the map again, a list of 7 countries. I went to 7 countries. I had planned to go to 3 when I started that trip. But sometimes you got to get yourself out of your environment. You have to get yourself into a new environment. And I just knew before this trip, I knew this would be, it's obviously amazing professionally to take advantage of speaking opportunities, but I knew this would be so good for the show. I just knew this would be incredible for so many reasons, because I knew that I would learn a lot about my country by being away from my country. I knew that I would have all these, what do we call them, timeless topics to bring back to you. And I also knew that if I just kind of got over there, a lot of other things would open up. And one of the speaking opportunities that I added to my trip, which I was so honored to do, which opened up once I was there, was the opportunity to speak at Oxford. Let's show picture 3. I know we're going a little out of order here. But I was invited to speak at the Roger Scruton Legacy Foundation at Oxford. They had a summer intensive program for 20 students all around the West who applied to come to Oxford for a week and have an intensive in the work of the great conservative Roger Scruton. And that whole story of how I ended up doing that speaking opportunity, I think, is really providential and really proves the point that if you just are yourself and you chase your interests and you take risks and you open yourself up to life, there are great things that can come of it. And this is about to sound very hocus pocus university, but I think when you're aligned with yourself, when you're aligned with God, when you're aligned with your purpose, when you're aligned with your interests, when you're just aligned, it's not that the whole world opens up to you. There were very difficult moments for me on this trip. Trust me, not everything is what it seems. Anything good that you see other people doing, there's sacrifice that comes from it. This is just true of life. If you want to look good, you have to sacrifice. If you want to be smart, you have to sacrifice. And that's true of anything, including this trip, which looks really fantastic, and it was, but there was a lot of sacrifice. But again, with this whole Oxford thing, it's just amazing. Once you open yourself up, you follow your interests, you never know what can come of it. And the short story of how that Oxford speech came up is that I was in a car ride to my friend's wedding, and I was in the back seat of the car, and the day before I had gone on a field trip to Eure, which is Mussolini's fascist dictatorial city in Italy. Let's pull up a picture of this. Oh God, did I send you a picture of that to pull for this episode? Oops, sorry, I didn't. But I went to Mussolini's fascist dictatorial city, and then I was in the car ride to my friend's wedding in Rome, and I was in the back seat, and I was talking with this person about how cool it was to go see fascist art and architecture. And then that person happened to be connected to the Roger Scruton Legacy Foundation at Oxford and was kind enough to invite me. So it just shows, and I'm learning this right now, this show is about exploration. It just shows when you open yourself up and when you're yourself. I didn't know she worked at Oxford. I didn't know they had a summer intensive program. I was just being a nerd talking about my field trip on a car ride to kill some time. But I just think I'm learning, and I hope to share with everyone, just be yourself in life. Be principled, but be yourself, and so many things will open up that you won't expect. So, just quickly, too, I want to show you some other things. There's so much I want to show you. Sean, we were talking before the show, and I was like, what avenue do I go down here? But it will be for many, many episodes. Malta, I'll spend a few minutes to talk about Malta. Malta is an incredible place. It's an island country that I showed you on the map is right below Italy and right above Northern Africa. And there is so much to learn about life, about history, about the human existence from that one place. Let's show picture 2. This is me in Malta in 110 degrees. I was pointing to a statue there. And it is the coolest island city because it was taken by the Order of Malta, these Catholic knights, from the Ottoman Turks in the 15th, 16th, 17th centuries. The Ottoman Turks ruled Malta. The Order of Malta, the great Catholic knights, came and took it. But then in the 19th century, Napoleon's French army came in and overtook Malta. And then Malta fell under British control. And during World War II, Malta was a hospital island because of its strategic location. Let's pull up the map again. We can see that it's below Italy, above Northern Africa. And so during World War II, it was the perfect place to go land planes, have ships, and of course, treat your soldiers.
You know, one of those ships during World War II was captained by my grandfather.
Really?
Lieutenant Colonel Regis Schaefer. Yeah, he was rescuing refugees from Malta, and he was sunk off the coast.
I didn't know this about you,
I wish
Sean.
I had known you had been there. I would have told you.
I'm learning about this for the first time on the air. That's incredible. So wait, wow, can you say that one more time?
During World War II, he was a lieutenant colonel in the Navy, and he was sunk several times. But one of his missions was rescuing refugees from the island of Malta, taking them away. Yeah.
That is incredible. God bless your grandfather. Yeah. Well, this next video I'll show you will be especially meaningful for you, Sean. There were these catacombs where families would go under during World War II when they would bomb Malta, and you're allowed to go in. Obviously, it's turned into a museum, but it is very, very, very cramped in there. In a lot of places in Europe, they have catacombs, bomb shelters where people were during the wars. You can't imagine how, if you were anything approaching claustrophobic, you would have a panic attack in these catacombs. Let's show the video 4. So my head was touching the ceiling just to show you. Look at this. This is where they would go to sleep, in here. And even in there was a whole other room in there.
Okay.
It was truly incredible. My friend hit his head, actually, and he got seriously hurt in the catacombs. He hit his head, and we thought we had to take him to the hospital. But this was the reality of so many not that long ago. We're talking about how the Trump assassination attempt, the debates were 5 weeks ago. We think of World War II as like, oh yeah, look at what you just said, Sean, about your grandfather. I mean, this was so incredibly recent. And so interestingly, Malta got independence from the British, and I believe thankfully we have Sean as a Google guy here, believe in the 1970s. And what is so incredible about this island, in addition to its beauty, in addition to its religious history, and the World War II history, and the stories of conquest and heroism and heartbreak and all of these great things, what's incredible, I thought, about it was how now they're trying to standardize the Maltese language. Because the island was conquered by so many different people. I'd mentioned the Turks, the Napoleonic army, the British. The Maltese language is a hodgepodge of essentially all of the people who have come in and have controlled the island. And also, it is extremely proximate to North Africa. And so the language is about a third Arabic, a third Italian, and a third English. There's a photo of me. Let's see if I can find it quickly. I think this is... Wow. I don't know if I pulled that photo. Forgive me. There were so many photos to pull. I'll show it next episode, but there's a photo of me in front of some of the street signs. And it's truly incredible, this language. There are, and we did a show on language here on Timeless, the origin and development of language. It's a mixture of Italian, English, and then you have the vowel accents above some of the words to show its Arabic influence. And so what's amazing to me about that is that, in a place like Malta, or in a place like Italy, in a place like Hungary and Romania, and all these countries that I went to, history is very relevant. And I know that sounds colossally obvious, but it's actually not colossally obvious. Because here in the United States, because we are geographically removed, we are buttressed by 2 oceans. Because many of us in the United States have been here for generations, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, or great-great-grandparents were immigrants. We're kind of far removed from history. That doesn't mean we don't have pain. That doesn't mean we don't have experiences of history. But for many of us in America, for generations, we've lived in prosperity and security, and we kind of think like, oh yeah, World War II, we were involved, but it happened over there. Communism happened over there. All the bombing and catacombs and all that happened over there. And for people, this is so relevant. Again, in Malta right now, they are trying to standardize their language because the language is such a mixture of all of the different influences, and they're just trying their best now to have some kind of stability.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out. I may have said lieutenant colonel, and I meant lieutenant commander. He was a lieutenant commander. Anyways, and Malta is its own country?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
It's its own independent country now. Yes. So there's a big kind of lesson or takeaway that I learned from this trip, and we've been talking about it a bit. But before I get to that, I want to quickly tell you about priority gold. Right now, we know that things in our country are very volatile, especially economically. And economists are warning us about massive tax hikes that could hit our IRA and 401ks hard. With inflation rising and global uncertainty, it's no wonder that central banks and many Americans are now turning to gold. If you haven't thought about gold yet, now is the time. And consider priority gold to help you diversify your savings with gold and silver by tying your money to something tangible. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD for a free gold information guide and see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Experts agree physical gold is one of the best ways to fortify your savings amidst all this economic volatility. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD to learn more. That's text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD. You know, when the stock market had a bit of a bad day, shall we say, recently, I had a friend text me and say, don't you advertise gold on your show? I really want to invest in gold. And I said, yes. And she went on, my dear friend, and now she's investing in gold. So
you were so conflicted before this trip. You were really torn between wanting to go and wanting to continue doing the show. And I think it's so brave of you, and I'm so proud of you for going.
Thank you.
Not only going and doing this, but going by yourself.
Thank you.
I don't think a lot of people would travel alone, and you must have learned so many things.
Well, thank you for saying that. And Sean really does know the behind the scenes where I was very conflicted to go because I wanted to stay here. Thank you, Tessa, for saying that you missed it. I wanted to stay here and continue, but And it's scary to travel alone. I mean, on Dennis and Julie, I believe that the episode aired yesterday where I discussed this. I was in a car, for instance, in Romania with this driver who I didn't know for 4 hours, and it's pouring rain, and I'm in this, and Romania was great. I loved Romania, but I'm in an Eastern European country bordering Ukraine. We as Americans, we don't quite understand that part of the world. And, I'm with this guy in the car, and my service is going in and out. And, it's scary being a young woman traveling. And, my parents were a bit concerned about me, obviously, going to these countries alone. And, anybody who travels alone understands the challenges that entails. But really, I think it's just so important.
Wait. You're going to talk about the Ubering in Transylvania, and you're not going to do the impression?
Of Attila? Should I point people to Dennis and Julie in order to get that impression?
Well, for those that didn't watch Dennis and Julie, you got to do the impression of Attila.
Okay, quickly. So I'm in Romania. I land in Bucharest. By the way, I'd been in Oxford the day before speaking, so I took a 2-hour drive from Oxford to London Heathrow, flew from London Heathrow to Bucharest, Romania, which, by the way, don't call it Budapest. Budapest is in Hungary. Bucharest is in Romania. Another thing I learned this trip? Take out is take away. A third thing I learned on this trip? In Ireland. Over there in Ireland with all those Irish people who are Irish Catholic and hate them Protestants up north, they call their French fries chips. I'm like, they're French fries. And they're like, no, they're chips. I'm like, no,
Right.
they're French fries. It's just
And their
funny, the
chips-
different.
Their chips are crisps.
That's right. I'm so proud that you know
Yeah.
that. Their chips are crisp. I'm like, these are chips.
And they're probably right and we're probably wrong, but who knows? And is it Budapest or Budapest?
Wow, I'm very impressed. I was saying it incorrectly for the whole trip. It's Budapest, Hungary. And there are two cities, Buda and Pest, and it's Bucharest, Romania. But to add to all of the fun and the complication, Romania was once a part of Hungary. But after the Treaty of Trianon during World War I, those countries got split up. Again, another example of how consequential history is to the vast majority of the world. We Americans are like, World War I? What's World War I?
All this talk of crisps and chips, I'm getting hungry. And you're not getting out of doing the Attila impression. Come on.
That's right. Somebody's writing, bring
impression.
Attila on the show.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be quick with this. So basically, again, I flew into Bucharest, and it's a 4-hour drive up to Transylvania. And because I was speaking, they were kind enough to get me a taxi driver, and I couldn't find Attila. Attila doesn't speak barely any English, and Attila's like 17 years old or 16 years old. Once we finally found each other after about an hour of searching, we get in the car. And by the way, I say this, I know he's not watching, and if he is watching, you're the best, Attila. You're very sweet, but oh, this car ride. And he speaks like this. I am Attila. And I was like, oh my God, we're driving for 4 hours up north with this guy, and it's pouring rain. It was sunny, and then it starts pouring. We're zooming. Attila knows how to step on it, and they don't have any road, at least where we were, they didn't have any road blocks in Romania. And so these big tourist buses with their high beams on would zoom past us and get within about an inch of us. And every time the car would pass, Attila would go, oh. And I'm in the back seat like, oh, I want to go home. I didn't eat anything. We traveled for hours. I love how you're eating. Ate nothing. I'm car sick. I'm scared. I'm in Eastern Europe. My friend is texting me like, oh, my friend on one of her trips like knew someone who got human trafficked. I'm like, oh, great. Lord help me. And every time we pass the car, Attila's going, oh. Okay, but actually I don't like this story because it makes it seem Romania is completely safe. And this is why I love sharing my travels with you, because we as Americans are like, oh my God, Eastern Europe, it borders Ukraine. Romania is safer than Los Angeles. People in Romania are so much kinder. And I left my phone somewhere and someone just ran out to give it to me. On Dennis and Julie, I showed a video of Romanian CVS. Everything is so organized and orderly. I felt incredibly safe there. The warmest, most hospitable people. I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. But yes, it was kind of funny.
Totally my fault for sidetracking.
It's totally your fault. Yeah, you just wanted the Attila, impression.
I did, and it was worth it. Oh,
yes. Oh, yes.
Big takeaway.
All right, I'll tell you the big takeaway, but quickly on this Attila thing. We get to a gas station, because, it's a 4-hour drive, and Attila comes out and starts smoking. By the way, picked up the habit there a little bit. I've left it back there. We can show picture 8. I'm sorry, Mom.
You started smoking?
Cigarellos, not cigarettes. Cigarellos. Oh. Yeah, that's me. My friend... I did that for you. My friend took that picture of me. Oops. But it's really cold. I mean, here in Los Angeles, I get back, I'm like, I want to have a cigarello. Nobody's smoking. I was at a restaurant, I lit my cigarello, I started to smoke it a bit, and people are looking at me like I've committed a crime against humanity. In Europe, if you're not smoking, you're a loser. In America, you're weird. Okay, anyway, that's a sidetrack. But we get to this gas station with Attila. And, I got to go to the bathroom. Attila's getting his cigarettes. And I saw this phone that was on the chocolate stand right by the cashier. And I thought, wow, this country, people just leave out their phones. I thought it was the cashiers. We go back in the car. We're driving up to Transylvania. We're about 10 minutes out of the gas station. And all of a sudden, Attila, who's driving, he turns to me and he goes, my phone. And I'm like, you left it at the gas station, Attila? So we turn around, but this was where these little moments. That's what's so great about traveling. These little moments where things go wrong tell you so much. We go back to the gas station and the phone is still there, right where he left it. And there were people coming in and out. And it's such a high trust society. And I believe a lot of it is because of the communist history and rebuilding after the communist history. That's something that we can and surely will get to in another episode. But it is such a high trust society that he left his phone and he turned around to go get it and it was still there. In Los Angeles or New York or basically any blue city in the United States, you wouldn't even bother going back to the gas station. It's gone. You know it's gone. Oh God, I'm not even telling you about all the God stuff, all the religious things I learned on this trip. But for the sake of time, I'll keep one of my big takeaways just to this episode. My big takeaway for you, and we've been talking about it, but it's so important. It's get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone in the sense of go on a trip, and of course it's very financially difficult to do this, but you can do it. You can take budget airlines. Trust me, I had my fair share of budget airlines on this trip. I missed a flight because of a budget airline is such a budget airline that they actually want you to miss the flight so that they can keep your money. You can stay in hostels, all of this stuff. I know that financially it can be difficult, but especially if you're young. I'm 24. I just have this piece of advice after my trip. Go, even if it's for a week. Go to a country you've never been before. Make sure it's safe, of course. Don't go to Russia. Don't be stupid. But while you're young, we have the freedom to do this. I don't have kids. I'm not married. I do have a job, but I'm lucky to have some flexibility in my job. A lot of people have flexibility in their jobs. All my friends work from home. Do it. Go. Because you will learn so much about yourself and so much about the world. And also there are all of these young programs across the world. I happened to go on a Catholic immersion program, which was just amazing. But everywhere I went, I'd go to a pub or I'd go somewhere and I'd meet these young people and they would say, oh, I'm on this, trip through this program. Even the one I spoke at Oxford with the Roger Scruton Legacy Foundation. Many universities all around the world have summer programs. Churches around the world or religious institutions have summer programs, and just go. Of course, I think it's good to go on a Catholic immersion program or go on a, conservative Western civilization, Judeo-Christian value-oriented trip. But dare I say, it doesn't even matter what program you go on. Just go, because you will meet so many people and learn. I met the most really incredible friends. And now I can come back to this show and tell you that one of my best friends is from Hungary. One of my other best friends is from Latvia. A third one is from India. I have become very, very close with people from the Netherlands, a guy from Ukraine, these darling 2 girls from Spain. I feel like they're listening, and I'm not saying my other ones, but there are so many. And it really was just chatting with people and going up to people and being open. I know it sounds very hippie, but just please have an openness to life. And it doesn't mean that you have to go and fly across the world to do it. For me, I kind of had to learn this lesson across the world. But even coming back in Los Angeles, I've taken this with me in my everyday experience. Don't fear. Don't fear traveling. Don't fear talking with people. People want to connect. I don't know. I'm going to pause for a minute because I feel like I sound quite hippie. Maybe I'm coasting off of the glory and the fun of this trip, but we so consign ourselves to a diminished life. I believe a lot of us as people, and certainly American culture too. It's weird if you talk to someone in public, or it's weird if you do something spontaneous. Let me tell you something. I was in Ireland one day, and I was with this girl who I just met from Spain, and she and I were trying to find lunch. And I walked up to this guy on the street, and I thought he was Irish. And I start talking with him, and he's Ukrainian. And he came to Ireland 2 years ago when Putin invaded Ukraine. And his mother is still in Ukraine. And so we're talking on the street, and I said, I just wanted to ask him if he knew a good lunch place, around this area of Dublin. And he said, sorry, I'm not from here. I'm actually an immigrant myself. I'm from Ukraine. So guess what I did? I invited him to lunch. And the three of us had lunch. And he was telling us all about his experience. I'm not going to share all of it for the sake of his privacy. And actually, to make the story even more interesting, I encouraged him to check out some of my content because we had become friends at this lunch. And I gave him my WhatsApp number. And about a day later, he said that he watched some of my content and he called me a propagandist. Sean's laughing. Sean's like, why are you saying this? I'm just trying to share with you all of my experiences. I learned so much. And I said to him, why? And he referenced an episode I did where I was talking about how we in the West, we the United States, I believe, were ill-advised to push the Ukraine NATO issue so intensely. That doesn't mean that I give a pass to Putin. But in that episode, I was trying to talk about the fact that it was probably not the wisest geopolitical move for the United States to want to admit Ukraine to NATO so quickly, especially after the collapse of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union had 14 constituent Soviet socialist republics, which they gave up. They were an evil empire. I'm glad they gave them up. But nevertheless, they gave them up. And then many of these former SSRs are entering NATO. Ukraine is very strategically located. It was once a part of Poland. Obviously, it was once a part of the Soviet Union. I was arguing in that episode that I don't think we should have pushed the NATO issue as hard as we did. But this individual, and I don't want to speak for him, I'd love to have him on the show and have him speak with me on the air because I care about the truth. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I want to know why I was wrong if I was wrong. But he wrote to me and he said, you're pushing lies and propaganda like that one NATO episode that you did. And the reason that he said that to me is because that is what Putin says to the population in Russia. Putin talks about the invasion of Ukraine and says that it's the West's fault because the West pushed the Ukraine issue. So from his perspective, and I don't mean to speak for him, he probably saw me as someone who was sympathetic to Putin. That's not true. But given his life experience, given what he and his family has been through, I can understand how he's kind of dividing the world between friend and foe. And it's just, I tell you that story for many reasons. I tell you that story to go, if you run into somebody and you sense that they're a safe person, you're going to lunch, invite them to lunch, you never know what you could learn. But also, I think it's so important to push your boundaries and speak with people from other parts of the world and open yourselves up to situations like this. My encounter with that Ukrainian guy really hurt me. I was really sad. I actually teared up when I read his message because I cared about him so much. I was so sad to know that what he's been through, having to flee his country. His mother's still in Ukraine. He hasn't seen his mother in 2 years. It broke my heart that he thought that I was a Putin propagandist. But I learned something about the world. I learned that when you're pushing for the truth, or when you're pushing the boundaries of your intellectual and spiritual development, as I endeavor to do on this show, stupid people will hate you, mildly stupid people will hate you, smart people will hate you, and good people will hate you. And this person is a good person, but because of his life experience, he sees something in me that is not true. But I can't blame him for thinking that of me, even though it's not true, because of his life experience. I'm going to pause on that. The general takeaway is openness to life. You never know what can happen when you run in. You never know what you could learn. You never know how your boundaries of your worldview can be stretched. But you just have to have a willingness to allow yourself to go there.
Your big takeaway, one of your big takeaways, was to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So there had to be moments where you regretted that. Were there moments where you were like, oh,
no,
what am I doing?
No.
And so do you still have a comfort zone?
No. Thank you for asking that. That's why I keep him around, even though he insults me at the beginning of the episode by saying, glad you showed up to work. That's why I keep the man around. Thank you. Thank you for asking that, because before the trip, I had a comfort zone. And now I feel like I pushed myself to do so many things, and that doesn't mean I have life all figured out. Again, the reason I do this show is to really explore in real time with you. I know it's unnatural for someone my age at 24 to have a talk show. And so I hope to use this as a forum of intellectual, spiritual travel development and just share my experiences and my mistakes and my everything along the way. But before the trip, it's a great question. I had a comfort zone, and now during that trip, I pushed myself to do so many things that now I can't say that nothing scares me, but very few things scare me. I'll give you a fun example, and I do have actually video prepared for this. So before the trip, I didn't know how to dance. And I wasn't someone who danced. Honestly, I don't know how to do it. And it's so vulnerable to dance. And it kind of scared me. Even sometimes, and I had fun dancing at parties in college, but slow dancing or a different kind of dancing than just being drunk at a party scared me because of the vulnerability. And in Italy and in Romania and in many of these countries I went to, there is a robust music and dancing culture. That is a whole rabbit hole into its own that I could go down on how culturally we're very deadened in the United States as compared to Europe. But I decided I would be at these events where they would have dancing. One night, for instance, in Rome, they had just this open, I think it's every Wednesday night, they have this open dance lesson that you can go to, and everybody learns how to dance, and then you dance with random people. And I decided to go, but even when I was there, I was scared. I was standing on the periphery, I was watching other people dance, and I didn't want to participate. And then I said, Julie, damn it, you're in Italy. Push yourself to go dance. It doesn't matter if you suck. And I did. I totally sucked. I was horrible. But then I pushed myself to do it even more and more and more. And then I swear to God, I found it to be fun. And what I realized is nobody cares if you're awful. It's a little narcissistic to be so self-conscious. And many of us in the United States are very self-conscious. It's kind of grandiose to think that other people are looking at you and scrutinizing you as much as you're scrutinizing yourself. And once you just let that go, then you can have fun dancing in Italy. That's Massimo who I'm dancing with. He was a hoot. So look, I'm awful. I mean, I'm not really dancing. He's just twirling me. We tried to do a sidestep thing, but it was just fun. That's my friend Elizabeth learning how to dance. She also was apprehensive, but we did it. It couldn't have been more fun. And look, is anybody looking at us? Nobody cares. Everybody's in their own world. So go dance, everybody. You know, whatever city you're in, go find a nice dance place. They have them in Los Angeles. They have them in any city. We don't live in the middle of nowhere. Go out and dance. I'll show you me folk dancing in Romania. Wait, sorry.
Was that a live band? Or
By the way, I can't hear you as well, but we'll just deal with it. Here, behind the scenes, those of you who are with me live. Oh, no. I think something disconnected, but I kind of hear you. Go on.
Was that a live band?
It was a live band. Yes. Okay. It was a live band. This is me folk dancing in Romania. Watch me fall at the end. Twirl and fall. It's just fun. Have fun with it. You know, Massimo, that guy who I was, the bald guy who I was dancing with in Italy, this was such a funny story. I was there the day before and I was wearing this kind of short dress. And you noticed that there was a lot of twirling. And one night he was really twirling me around. And once I was twirling, my skirt kind of caught some air and lifted up. And so I stopped twirling and I came back down and I said, Massimo, you have to be very careful with twirling me. My skirt is raising up and catching some air. And literally without missing a beat, he looks at me and he goes, that is why the skirt was invented. Just fun moments like that. I'll show you some other stuff. Romania. When I was in Transylvania, there was one night that we just had dinner outside. Look what we had for dinner. Oof.
Oh.
Yeah, that was...
Oh, that's a whole pig.
The whole thing. And then what I'm holding there is some stew. I'm holding some, it was actually Hungarian stew, because the festival that I was at had a lot of Hungarians. As I had mentioned, after the Treaty of Trianon in World War I, parts of what was once the Austro-Hungarian Empire became their own countries. So Romania was once a part of Hungary. And so many Hungarians still live in the diaspora, if you will, outside of Hungary. And so what I was holding there in Romania was actually Hungarian stew, which was quite good. And then I just had to take a photo next to the pig. You know, it's funny. We look at that and we think, oh my gosh, it's so horrible. Look at that pig. Well, guess what? When we eat bacon in the United States, that's where it's coming from. That's what it looks like in the restaurant in the back. We just don't see it. I just really appreciated that they were open. They're like, yep, we're roasting a pig and you're eating it straight from the pig. All right, let's go to scootering. This is just another fun thing. And again, it's not that all this trip was fun and games. It was work. You know, I pulled an all-nighter to prepare for my Oxford speech. In Romania and Hungary, I was speaking. The Catholic immersion program was incredible, but it was very intense, and it was really just spiritual boot camp. It wasn't all fun and games. But I'm showing you the fun areas where I was pushing myself to do things, and then you find that life is so much fun if you allow it to be fun.
Before we show the scooter pictures, did you travel with My Pillow?
It's a really good segue, Sean. It's
I've
a
been
really good
missing My
segue. I think
Pillow.
we should write down all the ways that we've segued into this My Pillow and rate them. That may be in the bottom quarter, but we're going to go with it. I didn't travel with the My Pillow, but I wish I did. And if I had, I would have traveled with my slippers and my towels and the Giza Dream bed sheets and all the other products that I use from My Pillow. And right now, you can get My Pillow products at a great discount. You can get their 6-piece kitchen or bath towel set for only $25. Their brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98. Their famous My Pillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. Just go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-566-6745 and use the promo code Hartman. Again, you can get premium queen size My Pillows for only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Use the promo code Hartman at checkout. Go to mypillow.com or again, call 1-800-566-6745. So yes, I was scootering, I decided, in Italy, because one day I had to go to my friend's wedding and there were no Ubers, there were no taxis, and I was in high heels. You can't, those of you girls watching, you know you can't walk too far in the high heels. So this is my transport to my friend's wedding in Rome. You can imagine the looks that I got in the high heels and in the dress, scootering down the street right by the Vatican in order to get to this wedding. And then, as if that scootering wasn't enough, when I was in Hungary, we realized, because there was this conservative conference in Hungary, that right next to where we were speaking, the border with Slovakia was open. Don't ask me why the border with Slovakia is open. I ordered a book. I'm going to read a book on it. But it has to do with the Treaty of Trianon that I mentioned, that these countries were once one. And there are Hungarians living in Slovakia who have family in Hungary. And so in order to have easy crossing, this is my, primitive understanding, they made the border very open or very accessible. And so you could literally be in Hungary and scooter over a bridge and get into Slovakia. So one day, Amala and I decided to scooter into Slovakia. That's us right when we crossed the bridge. So that's Slovakia right behind us. And literally, we just scootered into Slovakia. And it was very, very interesting because we crossed a bridge, as I had mentioned. And the differences in architectural style, in street layouts between where we were in Hungary and Slovakia, in my judgment, was very big. It was very clear it was a different country, but it was just so funny that you could scooter right into it. How interesting. We don't even contemplate these things in the United States. Oh gosh, I have two more things to show you. I feel like I'm just throwing a lot of these stories at you, but I appreciate that you're appreciating them. And again, the through line here is that leave yourself open. Scooter to Slovakia. Honestly, I was a little afraid to scooter into Slovakia. I don't know the government of Slovakia. I don't know if they're hospitable to Americans. I don't know if they would like to take someone hostage for a prisoner swap. I don't know. But just take a risk in life, you know? It'll probably end up being fine.
Are you responsible for the scooter, or do you just leave the scooter in
We rented the
Slovakia?
scooters. It's amazing in Europe. They have these Lime scooters
to
just
bring it
lying
back?
around. Yeah, you have to take it back into Hungary. The Lime scooter, you have this app and you scan it. By the way, if anybody's ever interested in going to Europe, email me at julie@julie-hartman.com. I'd love to help you with your travels and tell you some things. But one of them is scootering, my friends. Here's another thing. One day I was in Hungary and I decided that we would go to a water park. Next to where we were staying in Hungary, there was this massive indoor water park, which is very interesting because I find that, and I don't want to say that I'm an expert on Eastern Europe. I don't want to attribute everything to its communist history. But I find that many are very open to just fun, just everyday fun.
Did you say indoor?
Indoor water park. That's right.
Indoors.
Indoor water park. I find that many are just very, very open to fun because, again, for so long, no fun was allowed. No freedom was allowed under communism. I met someone in Romania who was an underground Christian artist, and his friend was also an underground Christian artist. And when the communists found out that they were doing this underground art, they hammered their wrists so that their wrists are permanently like this so that they can never do art. And so there was such a suppression of spirit and of art and of vitality during communism that I think now it's just so interesting to go and see, for instance, an indoor water park in this random kind of rural city in Hungary. And I, at the risk of reading too much into it, I think a lot of it is just wanting to have fun and enjoy life while there is the freedom to do so. And so my friend and I decided in the time that we weren't speaking to go to this water park. And there were two slides. One of them was a yellow slide. Went down it, super chill. And the second one was a black water slide. And I decided to go on that one second. I promise you, this is a very deep, revelatory story. Yellow one, totally fine. Once I go down the black one, I enter the water slide and it is pitch dark. You can't see anything in that water slide. And so I'm going down and it's quite long and I'm pushing, up and down and I'm kind of feeling around me and I'm like, okay, I'm still in this water slide. And then to make matters worse, but you're very disoriented because you can't see anything. The water flow was so mild that you're barely sliding down the water slide. And there were times when my skin actually got stuck to the side of the water slide. And so I got quite panicked, I have to tell you. I really did because I thought, am I going to get stuck in here? Do I have to crawl up? Do I have to crawl down? And then I had this moment where I said, okay, Julie, remember that you have God. And I started praying, as corny as it sounds. I started praying, like, please give me peace and please help me get out of here. Then a minute and a half later, I got out of there. I was very shaken and I got out. By the way, again, no signs, no warnings, no waivers you have to sign. And I go up to the lifeguard and I go, oh my God, that black slide, you can get stuck in it. I was like trying to alert them for maybe maintenance things, like your water flow isn't strong enough. I was getting stuck. And she doesn't even miss a beat. She looks at me and she goes, that is the point. And I thought, this is incredible. This is so different from the United States. Yeah.
Maybe they should have a sign that says black slides matter.
They would in Hungary. They are not woke in Hungary. But it's amazing. Like, we in the United States would be like, oh my God, it is such a horrible thing to subject people to that kind of abuse without alerting them with a sign and a trigger warning that their skin may get stuck to the side and that they may be scared. And it's like, they don't care if you're, at least at this water park, they didn't make you sign any waiver. There are no pronouns. There's no able-bodied stuff. There's no any of that stuff. You go down the scary water slide and tough stuff if you're afraid. Openness to life, man. It just teaches you, it helps you learn. And then once I realized that was the point, me and my friend Anna Maria went down it like 3 more times. Here she is. This is us inside the water park. That's the yellow slide you see behind us. You can see in the top left the start of the black slide. Maybe I'll leave it there. Maybe I'll actually finish out and show one more photo. This is a Danish dice game. I was in Denmark, and one night we stayed up very late at a pub and started playing this Danish dice game. That guy on the right of me, I knew the guy in the white shirt and the guy with the hat. They were my friends. But the guy to the right of me, just in the same way that I picked up the Ukrainian guy and went to lunch with him, this was someone who I met on the street. And he's 7 feet tall. He's absolutely enormous. And he's from Sweden, and his name is Stefan. And he was just spending some time in Denmark. And this 7-foot guy was walking down the street. And I said to him, "Want to come to us to this bar?" And he said, "Sure." And we started playing this really fun Danish dice game. And I started to call him my Nordic giant. And that was the night. Well, that wasn't all of the night. We had a lot of pints. And we played a lot of Danish dice. But just, I don't know. I hope I'm not being preachy. I hope this isn't coming off as, I've learned everything about life and here's what I've learned. This is it. This is a constant exploration. But I can just say that I've never had more fun in my life than on that trip. And so much of it is because I just said, sure, I'll smoke a cigarello. Sure, I'll go down the water slide. Sure, I'll invite the Nordic giant into the restaurant. Sure, there's no Uber. I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to scooter to Ava's wedding. We all live life too harshly. We're too hard on ourselves. We're too hard on others. We're too exacting. And this is coming from Miss Exacting herself. But in appropriate moments, when you just kind of let it go and do some out of the box things, you realize that life is actually really fun if you allow it to be fun. That's my little takeaway. I'm going to finish out with Priority Gold, a quick note on journaling, and then I will bid you all adieu. But seriously, I want to remind you about Priority Gold because right now, the economic climate is very volatile, and it's helpful to tie your money to something physical, and that's gold. Economists, as I said, are warning us about massive tax hikes that could hit our IRAs and 401ks. No wonder central banks and many Americans are right now turning to gold amidst this uncertainty. And so if you haven't thought about gold yet or diversifying your assets, now is the time to consider Priority Gold. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD for a free gold information guide and see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Experts are agreeing right now that physical gold is one of the best ways to fortify your savings. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD to learn more. That's text GOLDEN to 1-800-405-GOLD. Thank you so much for being here. I told you I wanted to end on a quick note about journaling because one of the reasons why I fear not about the randomness of this episode, and I fear not about being able to tell you about all the various things, historical, spiritual, intellectual, emotional, that I learned on the trip. The reason I don't fear that is because I journaled so much every single day of the trip. As corny as it sounds, I really took this trip for you. I mean, make no mistake, I took it for me, but I really took it for you. I took it because we do all these random topics on the show. We've had so much fun doing it. We have so much coming up. I'm having Eliza Ben Shalom, for instance, on the show. She's the Netflix Jewish matchmaker. She's coming up. We're having Bishop Robert Barron on the show. We have so many more fun episodes. And all I want to do is just bring you the most spectacular and different kind of content. And I knew that by going on this trip and learning what I would learn, I'd be in a better position to do that. So I did a whole notebook here. I can open to a random page of, well, you can't see it, I guess, with the light of my takeaways. And then my hands got tired and the notebook finished and I did typed up version. So I literally have a book's worth of all of these things. And so I so look forward to sharing more with you as time goes on. And I hope that my life in any kind of small way is helpful to you. And you can always email me at julie@julie-hartman.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Julie R. Hartman. Thank you to the chat for being here.
No,
Julie.
What? Julie, thank you for taking that trip for me. Thank you.
Really? Are you being serious or are you being cute to end the episode?
No, thank you for taking that trip for me.
We're being very open with you guys right now. Sean does, how many shows do you do? Like 18? Sean does many, many shows. And I'm sure it was a great relief to not have to pull many clips and videos. So you're welcome. You're welcome, damn
I'm
it.
glad you're back safe. I'm glad Timeless is back.
We're all back.
Woohoo!
We're so happy. I'm loving reading Somebody Studied Abroad. You agree. It's so important to go and meet all kinds of people. Please email me with your experiences, your questions, julie@julie-hartman.com. And I'll see you tomorrow right here at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern for our live show. Take care. Be well.